The door to heaven's door is behind the door. Light of the universe burns, but it's no more. The door to heaven's door is behind the door. Light of the universe burns, but it's no more. Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra. At your door are the paws, your blood they came here to pour. At your door is a war, your home they came here to torch. And they knew Fatima is behind the door. Vai, vai. They heard your holy well, but to no avail. The door became your veil. God forgive the nail. They heard your holy well, but to no avail. The door became your veil. God forgive the nail. Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra. Zainab is watching on with Hussein and Hassan, as the flames are burning on with Hussein and Hassan. And you hear from your son Muhsin calling, vai, 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 vai. You give me breath and you take my breath away. You heal me with your name, and with it you slay. You give me breath and you take my breath away. You heal me with your name, and with it you slay. Salam ya Zahra, 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 Salam ya Zahra. Ali called Al-Ali for what he saw, and the seven heavens began to mourn. Muhsin and Fatima behind the door. Wa wayla, wa wayla. When I think of your light in the darkness of the night, how they took all your rights in the darkness of the night, how Ali hid your sight in the darkness. Vai, 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 vai. The door to heaven's door is behind the door. Light of the universe burns, but it's no more. The door to heaven's door is behind the door. Light of the universe burns, but it's no more. Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra, Salam ya Zahra. At your door are the paws, your blood they came here to pour. At your door is a war, your home they came here to torch. and they knew Fatima is behind the door. Vai, vai, they heard your holy well, but to no avail, the door became your veil. God forgive the nail. They heard your holy well, but to no avail, the door became your veil. God forgive the nail. Salam ya Zahra, salam ya Zahra, salam ya Zahra, salam ya Zahra. Zainab is watching on with Hussein and Hassan as the flames are burning on with Hussein and Hassan. And you hear from your son Muhsin calling, vai, 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 vai. You give me breath and you take my breath away. You heal me with your name, and with it you slay. You give me breath and you take my breath away. You heal me with your name, and with it you slay. Salam ya Zahra, 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 salam ya Zahra.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Dear Shaykh Usama, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'd like to welcome you all to our final night of our Fatimiyya program. Send our condolences to you all, our mu'mineen and mu'minat around the world, the leader and Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman on this tragedy of Fatimiyya. Inshallah, to start off the night, I would like to welcome our dear brother Ali Hamdani for recitation for the Holy Quran. Please help me welcome him with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الذين أخرجوا من ديارهم بغير حق إلا أن يقولوا ربنا الله ولولا دفع الله الناس بعضهم ببعض لهدمت صوامع وبيع وصلوات ومسجد يذكر فيه اسم الله يذكر فيها اسم الله كثيرا ولا ينصرن الله من ينصره إن الله لقوي عزيز. الذين إن مكناهم في الأرض أقاموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة وأمروا بالمعروف ونهوا عن المنكر ولله عاقبة الأمور. وإن يكذبوك فقد كذبت قبلهم قوم نوح وعاد وثمود وقوم إبراهيم وقوم لوط وأصحاب مدين وكذب موسى فأمليت للكافرين ثم أخذتهم فكيف كان نكير. فكأي من قرية أهلكناها وهي ظالمة فهي خاوية على عروشها وبئر معطلة وقصر مشيد. فكأي من قرية أهلكناها وهي ظالمة فهي خاوية على عروشها وبئر معطلة وقصر مشيد. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Ahsant. For the love of Our Lady and our mother Fatima al-Zahra, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah, just a few announcements before we begin. The first one, I'll give the brothers a little bit of time to move a little bit closer. If you're sitting in the back, if I could just have everybody move up a little bit, inshallah. Inshallah, there will be a children's program downstairs for ages 3 to 6. Parents are more than welcome to bring their children down if their age is 3 to 6. And we also wanted to let parents know for the younger children, if they do need some area to move around to feel welcomed and they need the freedom that they need, The cafeteria is open for them to go downstairs, and if they do need to, when they feel like they're ready to come back up, then inshallah, they're more than welcome, inshallah. Just wanted to let everybody to please join our WhatsApp and social media channels. We have a couple QR codes around for our WhatsApp community announcements. That will keep you up to date for all of our future programs and all the future events. We do have some copies of Reclaiming the Narrative and other books as well in the back. If you want to follow along with the chapters that Shaykh Usama is going over, feel free to look at the area in the back, inshallah. And we are working on and we are fundraising for the Children's of Fatima campaign. And we will be watching a short video just explaining about some of the different efforts that we're trying to fundraise for. And inshallah, we ask all of you to please keep us in your du'ats. Inshallah, we'll play that short video and then we'll continue with the program. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
This November 24th and beyond, we ask you to contribute to our Fatimiyya fundraiser to help us continue the work we are doing at Hadi Institute to raise the next generation to follow in the footsteps of Fatima alayha salam. It is from her light we were guided, for she was and is the distinguisher when truth and falsehood collided. And when she met her Lord, all of us orphans we became. For all of us, she is the kind mother who loves us like her own children, just the same. And to continue the legacy of the greatest woman of dunya and akhirah, it is upon us, with God's help, to raise the next generation of children of Fatima. During our Fatimiyya fundraiser, we ask for your support to accomplish the following 3 donation goals. Our building mortgage. We strive towards our goal of paying off $50,000 of our $200,000 mortgage that is left on the Hadi Institute Youth Community Center. With your generous contributions, we can continue to provide a safe and nurturing space for our future leaders in our community to continue to grow and thrive. $40,000 for student scholarships. Your donations will help fund our tuition assistance program and subsidize educational costs to enable our mission of providing affordable Islamic education. We aim to make Islamic education accessible to everyone while also fostering a sense of community and support among families. $10,000 for our parking lot renovation. We will complete the final phase in the engineering process to submit plans for the repaving of the newly acquired parking lot. May every dollar you give further pave the way for our youth to walk in the footsteps of Fatima.
Inshallah, before we welcome Shaykh Usama, if we could please recite Fatiha for all our martyrs, the most recent martyrs in Palestine, and inshallah, Imam Khomeini, and all of those who died on the path of Islam, all your loved ones who have passed, and also for Hassan Zahir, Sayyid Taqi, and brother Yusuf Sami. After salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Without further ado, inshallah, we would like to welcome our teacher, our leader, Shaykh Usama, with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. So dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah, we've been favored to be in the house of Zahra for 2 nights. Today is the third night, the last night, where we've been her guest. We've been able to sit at her feet and to learn from her. Now, brothers and sisters, because tomorrow will be the Shahada, meaning from tonight, obviously we can be commemorating, tomorrow will be the day, I would like to just share some spiritual reminders that the Urafa give in order for us to benefit spiritually. So what they tell us to do is that this could be done tomorrow, brothers and sisters, to do 2 things. One of them would be any ziyarah of the Sayyidah that we could recite for our own spiritual benefit. We personally, individually, to recite a ziyarah of the Sayyidah. That would be wonderful. The other thing that will be wonderful if we're able to do would be to recite Hadith al-Kisa. That's a special way of us doing tawassul to the Sayyidah. Hopefully she accepts the efforts of each and every one of you and all of us. Now, brothers and sisters, today's chapter is the paradise of Wilayah. The paradise of Wilayah. And if we were going to summarize the paradise of Wilayah, we would say this, that if there is a group of believers, mu'mineen and mu'minat, and these people embrace true Quranic Wilayah in the right way. So these believers embrace it, and in addition to embracing it, they also put in the work, the blood, sweat, and tears, so that the community is a community that embraces Quranic Wilayah. If these 2 are to happen, then that community will experience paradise on earth before they go to the hereafter. The world that will be created out of a community that enjoys that Quranic Wilayah community is one where they will experience paradise on earth. So now, what I want to do is to kind of ask a question. And the question would be something for all of us to think about, especially because you brothers and sisters are going through this book and you're engaging with others outside of your small circle here. That is, what's wrong with the current state of affairs? What's wrong with how we're teaching Islam? What are we not getting? What's not happening? And this is something for all of us to think about it. What is it that as a community still hasn't clicked? We said that a community that enjoyed Quranic Wilayah, and I'm going to mention some details that we have right now, but then if a community enjoyed Quranic Wilayah, we would be experiencing this paradise on earth. What still isn't there? I'll give you an example. First, a short story. So, you and I, we know that we're waiting for a living imam. We have an imam who we're waiting for. An imam who would love to be there for us, who wants to be our friend, our companion, help us. He's the embodiment of what we find in that wonderful dua where Allah says about himself that he is Rafiqa man la rafiqa la. God is the friend of those who have no friends, the corporal form of that, the human form of that. The person who's the friend of those who have no friends is our living imam. He wants to be everybody's friend. He wants to be there for us. He wants to have that relationship with us. He wants to take us to the promised land. Let me tell you a story. One of the shuhada is a shaheed named Abdul Muttalib Akbari. And his story is a kind of an interesting one. This young man was born and he was deaf. He struggled to speak properly. He was in a small city or a small town in the south of Iran. And at that time, you can imagine at the time of the imposed war, the medical facilities weren't like what they are like now. And I don't know how many of you have interacted with those who are deaf or perhaps using a hearing device. Sometimes with some of those individuals, because they can't hear themselves speak, their voice sounds a little bit off, right? I've experienced that. This person, he struggled to communicate. Great guy, by the way. Religious, young man, married early. He was a mechanic by trade. Great man, wonderful individual, but he struggled to communicate. He struggled to speak. Now what happens was, his friend circle, they would unfortunately mock the way that he spoke. So they would try to get him to say, Abdul Muttalib, say something. He would speak, and then they would have a good laugh when he would struggle to speak. Right? But he was a good man, he was religious, he was well-liked. What happened was, during the imposed war, his cousin went to the battlefront. And his cousin, Abdul Muttalib's cousin, became Shaheed. When he became Shaheed, obviously it affected everybody in the village. Everybody was upset, especially those who knew the cousin personally. One of them is Abdul Muttalib. So this friend circle went over and they sat down at the grave of their friend. They're mourning. They're missing him. Abdul Muttalib is sitting with them. And then he did something strange. First of all, he started trying to communicate to them, to explain something to them. But they did the same thing that they would normally do. Oh, what's it? Abdul Muttalib's trying to talk again. What is it? Mocking what he had to say, not paying attention. So he did something. What he did was, right next to the grave of his cousin, who's now Shaheed, he drew an object in the sand. It was in the shape of a grave. On that, right next to the grave of his friends, he started writing something. And some of his friends who were there, they weren't paying too much attention. They started paying attention now. They saw that he wrote Shaheed Abdul Muttalib Akbari on the grave. So now that they're paying attention, they see what he's doing. Then some of them, now that was another reason to mock him and laugh. What are you talking about, Abdul Muttalib? You're saying you're going to be Shaheed? And he, when he saw the same normal response that people would give him, he kind of just put his head down. He didn't say anything. He wiped away the drawing that he had just done, and then he got up and he left. Abdul Muttalib had been to the battlefront before. He went again, this time with another group of brothers, and he went, and it wasn't too long before his friends heard the sad news. He had become Shaheed. So the news spread quickly throughout the village. Abdul Muttalib, Shaheed, great guy, masjid, we knew him. Everybody gathered. The incredible thing that they noticed was that where he ended up being buried was right next to his cousin. But something else was even more incredible. It was his will. He had written a will. One of the things that he explained over there was how lonely he felt, how unimportant he felt, how he had no one to talk to share his innermost thoughts with. But knowing the status of that Shaheed, it seems he's trying to teach a certain lesson. Not just talk about, now I'm Shaheed, nothing. What did he say? He explained, he said that when I didn't have anyone to speak to, I used to talk to the Mahdi. He became my friend. I would talk with him, I would communicate with him. He's the one who told me I'll become Shaheed. He's the one who showed me my grave. So what happens is, we serve, we're back to our original question, we serve that living Imam. We could be experiencing that paradise on earth. He wants to do us, he wants to take us to the promised land. Our question as a community is, what is it that's not happening yet? And I'm going to mention some of the things that are there now, right? So, what is it that our community is not doing? When you look at what our community is doing, you'll see that it's not the case that we don't hold majalis for Sayyida Zahra, for Imam Hussein. Majalis have been held for eternity, alhamdulillah. It's not that people aren't spending. It's not that people aren't shedding tears. By the grace of God, this is happening. Is it the case that maybe we're looking for solutions? Is it that we're not going for ziyarah, for instance? People aren't going for ziyarah. Is that the problem? But then you look, even last year, For Arba'een, there were 22 million za'ir. They were hosted, they were fed. This is incredible. So then you go back again to the question, well, why? It was our job to create the grounds for the imam. What is it that's still missing? Is it that we're not doing taqleed? But people are doing taqleed. Is it that we're not praying and we're not fasting? We're praying, we're fasting, so we're spending, we're giving. But what is it? There's still, like the imam's not here. He could be doing all of this. This stuff isn't just for a book. What is it? And the reason I mention this is that there has been progress. Things aren't the same as they were 44 years ago. Things have gotten better. Something happened, though. Something changed. So with the advent of the revolution, something did change. Things are very different than they were, right? But what happened? What's different? So if we remember, with the Islamic Republic, Iran, before the coming of Imam Khomeini, Iran was asleep. They also had that traditional Islam that's there. Iran was the biggest supporter of Israel. They used them as the big stick. They were the police. Iran was asleep. So what happened? Why is it that now there are victories? We're moving closer. Now you'll have an operation like the Al-Aqsa flood, and you see how Israel is, and you even know, even now, before all this stuff comes out, it's never going back. You can feel there's strength. You can feel there's an energy in the air. But what happened? If we wanted to summarize it in one word, we would say that that community in Iran, they embraced Quranic Wilayah. That community embraced Quranic Wilayah, the same way that it was taught. That traditional Islam before, that allowed for Israel to be taking advantage of them, and people were still praying and fasting and hijab and all these things. But when they embraced Quranic Wilayah, something changed, right? So that is something that we have to fix. We have to see. We have to see how can we facilitate this. Now, the Quran is very clear. I'm going to start sharing some ayat of the Quran. And you and I, let's remember again that hadith that we had from the Imam. The hadith from the Imam was that the Quran is alive. We're looking for applications right now. So let's look at some verses of the Quran together. The first one, brothers and sisters, will be Surah number 4 and verse number 58. So Surah 4, verse number 58. Let's see if you guys can see this. Do you guys see the same thing that I'm sharing over here? Do you see 4:58? Inna Allah ya'murukum. Does anybody see that? Okay. So let's read that one together. God commands. He says, Inna Allah, truly Allah, ya'murukum. Allah commands you. What does He command you? An tu'addul amanati ila ahliha. God commands that you return the amanat, those trust, back to their rightful owners. Quranic wilayah is a trust. When it was turned back to its rightful owner, then suddenly everything changed. We're going to discover how. We're going to read that together. If this amana is not used in the right way, it's a little bit scary. This is now the words of the Imam, right? We're trying to figure out what's wrong and then to see what our role is. So the hadith of the Imam is this. He says, know this. Man lam yunfiq fi ta'atillah, whoever doesn't spend in the obedience of Allah, he says, ubtuliya bi an yunfiqa fi ma'siyatillah. This person will be afflicted, will be tested, will be tried with spending in the ma'siyah of Allah. The same thing is true about wilayah. It continues. Wa'lam, know this. Anna man lam yamshi fi hajati waliyillah. Those people who won't walk to the assistance of the wali of Allah, these people, obtuliya, they will be afflicted and tried. Bi an yamshiya fi hajati aduwillah. They will walk, they will assist the enemy of Allah. So that Quranic wilayah needs to be returned to its rightful owner. When that happens, things change. When a community understands it, embraces it, teaches it, shares it, then things change. So this game-changing lesson is something that we need to understand, embrace. The ummah needs to understand it. It needs to be shared. Once there was an interview with Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. May Allah protect him. In that interview, he said, he's explaining a story. He said once, one of the leaders, a senior official or a senior member of the Iraqi resistance, came to speak with him. And he wanted to know the secret of the success of Hizbullah. So Sayyid said that I began to explain to him how we're organized, what we do, this is our plan, this, that, and the other. And the guy's listening. And then he said, if you really want to know the secret of Hizbullah, I'll tell you something. I, of course, wanted to know the secret. It's like the secret is that we've embraced the wilayah of the current wali. The reason for all that success is that we've embraced the wilayah of the current wali. That's really what it is. So, by the way, brothers and sisters, this isn't about making taqleed. We all make taqleed to whoever we make taqleed to. We're not trying to get anybody to make taqleed to Ayatollah Khamenei. No. We're talking about the wilayah of the wali. What is that? And I want to give you an example, but I want you guys to remember something. How many of you remember the letter of Imam Hussein to the people of Kufa? The letter of Imam, I'm going to read part of it. The letter of Imam Hussein to the people of Kufa. If you remember, there's going to be one line. I'm going to quote that one line, but I want you guys to remember what was said before, what was said after that by the Imam. So the Imam said this. He says, Inni ba'ithun ilaykum akhi. Truly, I am sending my brother. Who's he talking about? Muslim ibn Aqil. Truly, I'm sending my brother to you. Wabna ammi, my cousin. Wa thiqati min ahli bayti. The person who I trust from my family. Summarizing what we know, and all of us can go back and check, we can remember this, that he explained. He said that I've gotten your letters. The summary of your letters was that we don't have an imam. My response to you is that I'm sending Muslim ibn Aqil. If he tells me that things are as you said they are, then after that I'm on my way. The test for the people was Muslim ibn Aqil. If you really have Quranic wilayah, because remember, our Imam is not coming back to fail. He's going to win. At that time, then he sent them. You and I, we don't want to sit around and in our majalis. I'm talking about the people of Kufa. What they did, how they failed, how wrong they were. The people of Medina. I wish that they should have done, right? That's different than focusing on what we're supposed to do. The test for us isn't Imam Hussein then. It's not Sayyida Zahra then. It's the Muslim ibn Aqil. The same way that it was their test. So the thing is, brothers and sisters, this isn't something, if we want to go through the Quran now, we're going to sit around and focus on a distant past without looking at any sort of personal responsibility. Another ayat of Quran. So brothers and sisters, if you can turn to Surah Baqarah. So this will be verse number 2. Surah number 2. And verse number 134. So Surah Baqarah 134. Let's see if we can read this verse together. Let's see if I'm quoting it correctly. So, the verse should read like this. Do you guys see tilka ummah? Yes? Okay, let's read this together. Tilka ummatun qad khalat. That was a nation that passed. The people of Medina, the people of Karbala, right? That's what laha ma kasabat. For those people, they will have whatever they earned. Whatever they earned, whatever they did with their test. How were they with the Muslim ibn Aqil? As an example. What does the Quran say to us though? The Quran keeps speaking. It says, وَلَكُمْ مَا كَسَبْتُمْ. For you is that which you have earned. The Quran isn't talking about the distant past. That was a people, they did this. How many of our majalis are missing that point? How much is it when we're having conversations that Islam becomes real, becomes us, becomes now? What are we doing about the greatest, the heaviest of the amanat? So this is something, brothers and sisters, one thing we learn from this verse is this isn't something somebody else can do for us. We have to do this. We have to do this. Now, brothers and sisters, can I tell you a story that's not true, inshallah? Inshallah, it's not true. They said once there was this young man, and he was a huge football fan. And he had bought tickets for the Super Bowl, but he had bought them months before he got married. They were expensive, $2,000 a piece. He bought these tickets, but he had no idea that the Super Bowl would fall on the same day that he was getting married. So he was stuck. So he put an ad on Facebook, and he said that, who can go in my place? He said it's going to be the South Baptist Church at 3 o'clock, and her name is Tiffany. This isn't something somebody else can do for us. This issue of Quranic wilayah for the ummah, something that we have to do for ourselves. So, brothers and sisters, the next thing that we're going to discover about Quranic wilayah is that this blessing is one that's uncomparable to anything else that's out there. What happens if a community has this? The difference between Iran before the revolution and Iran now. What happens? Ayat of Quran. So brothers and sisters, can you turn with me to Surah number 8 and verse number 24. So 8:24. What happens if a community is gifted the blessing of Quranic wilayah? So guys, do you see on 8:24? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Do you guys see that? Okay, let's read this together. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. So, O you who believe, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, istajibu lillah walirrasul. Answer the call, answer the invitation of Allah and the Messenger. When they do what? إِذَا دَعَاكُمْ, when he invites you, لِمَا يُحْيِيكُمْ, to that which gives you life. If an ummah enjoys Quranic wilayah, the ummah goes from being a dead ummah, a useless ummah, a ummah that's being taken advantage of, to an ummah that's alive. Now, brothers and sisters, we've been talking about Quranic wilayah, and we left off yesterday in our discussion. So we said that Quranic wilayah actually had multiple dimensions. There were multiple dimensions of Quranic wilayah. One of the things that we mentioned was there in Quranic wilayah was that horizontal wilayah, that connection that was there between all of us as believers. Wilayah is a connection. There is an inseparable bond. And in order for us to have Quranic wilayah, one part of it is that the relationship between all of us has to be that of wilayah. We covered those ayat of the Quran. We also learned that Quranic wilayah has, if you want to call it, a negative dimension as well. The positive dimension was that closeness, But there's another dimension addressed by many of the ayat of Quran, and that is when it comes to those who are outside of the circle of wilayah, the enemies of Islam. We aren't supposed to be influenced by them in any way. If we are interacting, we're interacting with strength, but we're not affected by them. We're not being toyed with by them. We're interacting with strength, right? And we covered those ayat of the Quran together. So we had those two dimensions of Quranic wilayah. Is that enough? No. Quranic wilayah has a third dimension as well. The third dimension of Quranic wilayah is actually what causes the other two to come into effect. That creates that unity and also allows the believers to ward off that danger, and that's the vertical wilayah, the wilayah of the wali. So wilayah amongst ourselves, not having the wilayah of the kuffar, but then after that, the Quranic wilayah was that connection between us and the wali. So what happens is, in order for an ummah to do its responsibility, it needs to have an access, someone who knows the ummah, someone who's wise, someone who can guide the ummah, someone who can tell them who their enemies are, who their friends are, help them do their responsibilities, put everyone in their specific spots, decide when it's the time for peace, when it's the time for war. It has to be that one unifying factor in order for that person to be there. Someone to implement Islam's laws. We talked about the idea of creating a conducive environment. We said that somebody has to, if they're going to implement Islam's laws, obviously we have to know what Islam is, teach Islam, right? We're talking about somebody very special who has that problem, who can be conducive for the entire ummah to go over and face off against their enemies. Now, this is the part where it gets a little bit tricky. When it comes to the wilayah of a God-fearing society, that wali has to be appointed by God himself. We can't just follow any person. We can't just, right? Otherwise, other rulers, without the permission of Allah, are tawaghit. They're the enemy, they're the problem, they're the issue. So, that wilayah which comes from God, it's of two types. One time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly selects an individual. God will appoint a Nabi, appoint our Prophet, appoint Nabi Ibrahim, appoint Amirul Mu'mineen, appoint the Mahdi. God will actually appoint a leader and a wali. Allah speaks in the Quran about this appointment. I want to give you one example from the Holy Quran. Brothers and sisters, can you turn towards Surah Baqarah again, but this time look towards verse 124. So Surah Baqarah 124. Do you guys see this? It's part of that famous story that we all know about Nabi Ibrahim. Part of it should read as the following. Guys, do you see this? Qala inni ja'ilu. Do you see that? Is anybody? Okay, good. Let's read this one together as well. God is speaking, right? Wilayah comes from above. God selects certain individuals. He appoints them. They become the wali. They are that beating heart of the community. They're the ones who are giving all those directions. Over here, God says, Inni ja'iluka linnasi imama. Truly, I make you an imam for the people. God chose. Like who? Like Imam Hussein. Like who? Like Amirul Mu'mineen. So that's one way that the divine wilayah works. When there's a community that recognizes that leader, then they enjoy that divine wilayah. But that's not the only way that it works. The other way that it works is not by specification by name, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Imam Sadiq. It's rather by qualifications. Whoever has these qualifications is your wali. Whoever has the following qualifications is your wali. The important part over here, though, is to recognize that this person is also a wali from Allah. A wali from Allah. Same system. A wali from Allah. If I'm following this person, then I'm following the wilayah of God. It's the secret. So we have in the ahadith many times where the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam have addressed what the qualifications must be for these various individuals. I'm going to read one of the ahadith that's out there, but there are many. There's a qualification, a list that we come up with when we look at the ahadith of the Ahlul Bayt to find out who is the wali by qualification and not by name. This one is from Imam Askari, and he says this: فَأَمَّا مَنْ كَانَ مِنَ الْفُقَهَا. Regarding those who are amongst the fuqaha, those who know Islam, he says, صَائِنًا لِنَفْسِ حَافِظًا لِدِينِهِ. This person is guarding their own nafs. They are a protector of the deen. And we have no idea the spiritual level of these fuqaha, how incredible these guys are. مُخَالِفًا عَلَى هَوَى. People who are going against their own nafs and their own desires. مُطِيعًا لِأَمْرِ مَوْلَى. Obedient to the command of the master. What about these kind of individuals who have these qualifications? He says, فَلِلْعَوَامْ أَن يُقَلِّدُوا. The masses are supposed to follow that wali from Allah. So now, we see that wilayah is of two types. Either that person is identified by their characteristics, or they're pointed directly from Allah. Now, as I mentioned, this is a bit of a step up from just making taqleed to someone in our personal matters. Because alhamdulillah, people are doing that. Following and embracing the wilayah of a wali is a little bit different. We're going to talk about what does it mean, first of all, for me to have wilayah as an individual. Do I, as a believer, before we talk about the community, do I as a believer enjoy Quranic wilayah? So, one more point before that too, and this one's also important. While we can have many maraja, may Allah protect them. We can have many maraja. That's not a problem. We can only have one wali. It's like the central nervous system of a body. A body can't be operating based on two central nervous systems. An army can't have two commanders who are telling them, one army is telling them to move at one time, right? When you looked at this recent situation, and you looked at the words of the leader, and you saw the warnings that were coming Israel's way, and then you saw that the axis of resistance, even though in the axis of resistance, they are not proxies. They all weigh the situation, but they all knew they weren't going to stand and just watch this happen. Then each one went in with his own, but you have to have one. You have to have an axis. You have to have someone who's directing the efforts of the ummah. So there's only one. But then now with this, how do we know if we are actually enjoying the wilayah of the wali of Allah? There's actually characteristics. It's a little bit more than just, do I make taqleed to somebody in halal and haram? That's been there for a long time. The wilayah of the wali is a little different. Brothers and sisters, to make it easier, how about if we do this? Let's imagine that we're talking about Ali ibn Abi Talib, right? Because for us as a community, when we're talking about Ali, that makes it a lot easier. It's a little difficult sometimes for the community to move past just the individuals who are directly appointed by God to understand what the wilayah should be like for them, and after what the wilayah should be like for the wali. Example. When it comes to Ali ibn Abi Talib, or anyone who were trying to enjoy the wilayah of that individual, we're supposed to do a couple of things. Number one is to know who the wali is. We have to identify who the wali is. The community has to identify who the wali is. Who is the wali? Number one. We have to familiarize ourselves with the thoughts of the wali. How does the wali think? My thoughts, my assessments should be in line with that of the wali. Let's move to current times. For instance, let's say when the operation happened, Al-Aqsa storm, when that happened, what was the take of the leader? If I'm really somebody's enjoining Quranic wilayah. He spoke several times. Each one of those words were very important. What is he pointing at? One thing, in order to personally enjoy wilayah, is I need to know the thoughts of the leader, the thoughts of the wali, to be aligned with them. The goals of the wali, I have to have those as my goals. I have to move in lockstep with the wali. I have to follow the wali. Thoughts and practice have to be like that of the wali. So now, example from the life of Sayyidah Fatima, and then we'll move on to what is wilayah like for a community. The family that Zahra raised was a family that enjoyed Quranic wilayah. They did have a wali. They would move in lockstep with the wali. They knew the thoughts of the wali. They were all moving. One example. There's one example that the Quran points out for us. One perfect example. What happens is that Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein were sick. They fell ill. The family went and brought them to the Prophet. The Prophet suggested, he said, why don't you make another for them to get better? And they made another. They made an oath that inshallah, if they recover, we're going to fast for 3 days. Alhamdulillah, they recovered and they began to fast. Now, as you know, their family was struggling financially. Amirul Mu'mineen, he got some barley for them. And Sayyidah Fatima made that. That became their meal. The whole family's fasting. And then at the time, when it's time to break fast, there's a knock on the door. There's a poor person. And the family, without even thinking twice, goes over and hands their food to them, breaks their fast with water. The next day, somebody else knocks at the door. The next day, somebody else knocks at the door. And the whole family did this. It said that when the Prophet went to visit them, they were so hungry, it was so visible on their faces. The Prophet was concerned. Angel Jibreel revealed an ayat of Quran about this. Shows you the level of ikhlas that these people who had wilayah had, how they were all synchronized. The verse of Quran is this, Surah 76, verse number 76:9. Innama nut'imukum liwajhillah. We only give you food for the sake of Allah. La nuridu minkum jaza'an wa la shukura. We want no reward from you. We don't even want thanks. The family of Quranic wilayah, everybody aligned with their wali, the whole family moving in this direction. We don't even need thanks. We just do our responsibility. Now, at a lower level, we can try to gain some of that. Let me tell you a little bit about one of our shuhada. Just the idea that let's move in the direction of the wali. You know, there's another video that I was watching where Shaheed, may Allah give him long life. Sayyid Hassan Nasrullah was speaking. Inshallah, Allah keep him until the return of the Imam. He was speaking, and he was talking about Shaheed Qasim Sulaimani. And he was talking about why it was that there were so many pictures, selfies, people were taking pictures with the Shaheed. When, you know, he was in charge of the Quds force, he's a secret operative, and he was somebody who, his ikhlas was such that even if he was sitting in a session with the leader, he never wanted to be known. He'd be sitting in some corner because it's never about him. It's all about the mission. It's all about the cause. What happened was, when he and Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis, when those shuhada would go to the battlefront, to the front lines, when the brothers were over there facing off against Daesh, the brothers would recognize them. And the brothers would have cell phones. And the brothers want to go over and they want to, now we see them on the front lines. This was something he'd always done. For all of the wars, it was never the case. He would always go to the front lines, see what's actually happening on the ground. I'm bleeding with the brothers. But the brothers, nowadays, they had cell phones. So everybody would say, oh, you're here. Can we take a picture? So now you can explain to the brothers security concerns, the enemy, what they're doing, secret operative. The brothers are here, young men. They're putting their lives on the line. They're facing off with Daesh. You talk about security concerns. So he said, Bismillah. And he would take the pictures with them. Everybody's sitting and taking pictures with the shaheed. The end result of that was incredible, though. Not that he was looking for. The same way that Allah revealed the ayat of the Quran about Sayyidah Fatima and about her family, and God showed, God used this as well. What happened was that one of them, it became for the political record. Later on, for the people of Iraq, it became very clear who's on the front lines fighting with the Dawash. There's selfies. He's on here, he's over here, he's over there, right? The fear amongst the enemy was also another blessing, but that's something that God did. So we want to be like them. Now, the next question is this. We have to also have Quranic Wilayah as a community. We said that if a community enjoys Quranic Wilayah, if a community enjoys Quranic Wilayah, then the community experiences paradise on earth, if the community enjoys it. So what does the community have to do? The community also, the same steps, right? This is the blood, sweat, and tears part. The community needs to know who the wali is. They have to be in line with his goals. They have to be following his thoughts, his patterns, his ideas. They have to be in lockstep. It's not enough to have a small community of believers, right? It's part of the clarification jihad to go over and work with people so that people can even recognize who the wali is, so they can experience this. So that's something that we have to do on a community level. By the way, one point just about spirituality, and then after that, the lesson from Sayyidah Fatima, and inshallah, the Masai. So even when it came to Islamic spirituality, this concept of wilayah, accepting it, embracing it, was something that you hear even from the Urafa. The Urafa. One of the illustrious students of Allama Tabatabai is Marhum Ayatollah Sa'adat Parvar. This great arif, incredible individual. But one of the conditions for being accepted as a spiritual student, right? It's not that I could go over to him and say, I just want to benefit from you in Islamic spirituality. I want to better myself. His condition was that you had to embrace and accept the revolution. Ayatollah Tahriri now speaking, currently alive, may Allah protect him. Those who don't accept that, don't go anywhere spiritually. It's still part of that core. So now, a little bit about our mother, Sayyidah Fatima, and then after that, inshallah, we'll have the Masa'ib. So, how hard did our mother work to make sure that the community understood Quranic Wilayah? Those few weeks that she was alive, how was she engaged in making sure that the community, because we don't get to be indifferent to the wilayah of the community. I have it for myself. I'm in line. No, that's not the seerah of Sayyidah Fatima. The idea is to engage, to talk, to speak, to share. And she did it in every way possible. Whether it was sacrificing her reputation and standing at the door and resisting to the extent that she gets into the altercation with those who break down the door, it's because she's resisting. She's trying to teach that, practically teach the importance of Quranic Wilayah. I can't allow Quranic Wilayah to go to other than those who deserve it. Ayat of Quran. To the extent that she was beaten until she fainted. Ali is dragged out. Again, she gets up. It said that when she was going for those 40 days, she's already had the miscarriage. In that state, to go to the houses of the believers, to talk to them, it's not too late. We can still fix this. This is the plan. So the Quranic example for all of us, the role model for all of us, is our mother. And if we want to experience and enjoy Quranic wilayah, then we have to take her as a practical role model. We end with salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على فاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به الموت. Altogether, Allahumma kun liwaliyak al-hujjata ibn al-Hasan salawatuka وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل وليا وحافظا ودليلا حتى تسكنه أرضك توا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. يا فاطمة الزهراء يا فاطمة الزهراء يا فاطمة الزهراء. On this night, write our names on the list of your Zawar. We know the way to Karbala is through you. Take us to Karbala, O Mother. On this night, the children of Lady Fatima are saying their final goodbyes to their mother. Let's take our hearts to Medina, oh my mother, oh my mother. Your face is bright, it shines like the moon. I can't believe that you're leaving so soon. O my mother, O my mother, O my mother, O my mother. You used to sing a lullaby. I dreamt of floating in the sky. I saw the angels passing by, showing me your place so high. Your face is bright, it resembles the moon. I can't believe that you're leaving so soon. Oh my mother, oh my mother, oh my mother. Tonight is the night that we all became orphans. Tonight our mother Zahra is departing this world. Tonight Amir al-Mu'mineen is losing his best supporter. Without you, O Zahra, I will become more lonely. Without you, O Zahra, no one will even respond to my salam. Oh my beloved, all of this aside, without you, how can I take care of the children? What will your daughter Zainab do without her mother? Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. On the last day, Amir al-Mu'mineen was in the masjid. Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein came home. When they saw their mother Fatima sleeping during the day, Ya Asma, ma yunimu ummuna fi hadhihi as-sa'a. Oh Asma, our mother doesn't usually sleep during this time. Ya ibnay Rasulallah, laysat ummukuma na'ima. O sons of Rasulallah, your mother is not sleeping. قد فارقت الدنيا. She has departed from this dunya. Your mother has passed away. O sons of the Prophet, go inform your father. Hassanain are running towards the masjid to inform their father. ورفع أصواتهما بالبكاء. They began crying out loud when their father Amir al-Mu'mineen heard the news. فوقع علي عليه السلام على وجهه. Amir al-Mu'mineen fell onto his face. Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. Your face is bright, it resembles the moon. I can't believe that you're leaving so soon. Now Ali knows what he has to do. Lady Zahra told him in her will. There is something else that Lady Zahra told Ali. Maybe he began acting on it at this moment. What did she tell him? ابكي لي يا أبا الحسن وابكي لليتامى. Cry for me, O Aba al-Hasan, and cry for our orphan children. ولا تنس قتيل العداء بالطف العراقي. Don't forget about my son Hussein. take care of him. A time will come that this ummah will murder him in the desert of Iraq. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. On the night that Lady Zahra departed, Amir al-Mu'mineen instructed Abu Dhar to tell the people to scatter and to go home. When the candles of Medina were blown out, Amir al-Mu'mineen turned on his own candle. He told the children, I'm going to do the ghusl of your mother. Cry, but don't cry too loudly, lest the enemy wake up. It is said that the children were holding their sleeves in their teeth so that no sound could be heard from them. Then Amir al-Mu'mineen says to Asma, you pour the water, Asma, as I wash the body. But there came a moment, Amir al-Mu'mineen stopped the washing. He placed his head on the wall and began crying out loud. Asma said to him, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, you commanded us to cry quietly. Why is it that you are now crying loudly? He replied, O Asma, the wounds of Lady Fatima are still bleeding. Oh Asma, I just now saw the bruises on her arm. She never complained to me about these wounds and the bruises. Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra, Ya Zahra. With all the difficulties, Amir al-Mu'mineen finished burying his beloved, just like she asked in the middle of the night. The narration says, فَلَمَّا نَفَدَ يَدَهُ مِن تُرَابِ الْقَبْرِ. When he finished filling the grave, he dusted his hands from the dirt. He's standing above the grave of his beloved. All of a sudden, Haja bihil huzn. That is the moment when he was overcome with sadness. It was then that he called out to the Prophet, Assalamu alayka ya Rasulallah. Peace be upon you, O Prophet of Allah. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Indeed, we belong to Allah, and to Him we will return. فَلَقَدْ اسْتُرْجَعَتِ الْوَدِيَّةِ. The one you entrusted me with has been returned to you, O Rasulullah. This was the way of the Ahlul Bayt. Whenever there is a great calamity, they call upon the Prophet. The years passed. On the 10th of Muharram, Lady Zainab also called upon the Prophet. Ya Jadda, Ya Rasulallah, Salla alayka Malikus Sama. O grandfather, O Rasulallah, the angels of the sky send their peace upon you. هذا حسينك مرمل بالدماء ومغتى الأعضاء. This is your Hussein. This is your Hussein, drowning in blood. Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. وعلى الأرواح التي هلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بغيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. All together, Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn wa ala awladil وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Open my eyes, I saw you there. You showed me love unseen elsewhere. Thoughtful you were, you kept me sane. You were with me in laughter and pain. Your face is bright and resembles the moon. Oh my mother, oh my mother, I can't believe that you left me so soon. Oh my mother, oh my mother, you used to sing a lullaby. I dreamt of floating in the sky. I saw the angels passing by, showing me your place above high. You'd be awake, I'd be asleep. You'd caress me as I would weep. You'd think of me, though far apart. You knew the way to mend my heart. Your face is bright, it resembles the moon. Oh my mother, oh my mother, I can't believe that you left me so soon. Oh my mother, oh my mother, you used to sing a lullaby. I dreamt of floating in the sky. I saw the angels passing by, showing me your place above high. Wish you were here, wish we could meet. I'd kiss your hands and then your feet. You flew away, my pain constant, but in my heart you are present. Your face is bright, it resembles the moon. Oh my mother, oh my mother, I can't believe that you left me so soon. Oh my mother, oh my mother, Oh my mother, ya Fatima, how they've left you bleeding in fire, how you've been pressed against the floor, how they've crushed you against the door. You taught your lovers how to fight, defend the truth with all their might. They have become stars in the night. They have become our source of light. By Hajj Qasim Abu Mahdi, we make a promise to Lady. From Al-Quds to your Medina, your flag will wave high, dear Zahra. Your face is bright, it resembles the moon. Oh my mother, oh my mother, I can't believe that you left me so soon. Oh my mother, oh my mother, your face is bright and resembles the moon. Oh my mother, oh my mother, I can't believe that you left me so soon. Oh my mother, oh my mother. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
يا زهرة 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 يا زهرة. From Allah, gifted from Allah to Taha, He gave him Zahra, a daughter, to him a mother from Allah, from Allah, from Allah, from Allah, from Allah, gifted from Allah to Taha. He gave him Zahra, a daughter, to him a mother from Allah, from Allah, from Allah, from Allah. Your enemies called you Abtar, Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. Your enemies called you Abtar, Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. From Allah, from Allah, from Allah, from Allah, a fruit from heaven's trees, land from its seeds, a seed to Taha. In the darkness God said, let there be light, let there be Zahra. A fruit from heaven's trees, land from its seeds, a seed to Taha. In the darkness God said, let there be light, let there be Zahra. This is the apple of his eyes, rooted up in paradise, uprooted after he died. The reasons are clear. Within the womb she had spoken, and by the Lord she was chosen. By the door her ribs were broken, the treason is clear. They asked why she wasn't mentioned, for their eyes cannot comprehend. The sublime writes what he intends and transcends without end. Not just a verse, he sent a chapter. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. Not just a verse, he sent a chapter. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. From Allah, from Allah, from Allah, gifted from Allah to Taha. He gave him Zahra, a daughter, to him a mother from Allah, from your enemies called you Abtar. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. Your enemies called you Abtar. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. From Allah, from Allah, from Allah. Running from Safa and Marwa Hajar, who knows your pain? Beside she who her son's thirst was like none, like her Hussein. Running from Safa and Marwa Hajar, who knows your pain? Beside she who her son's thirst was like none, like her Hussein. The lineage of the same people trying to be your equal. Let the tense in a sequel, the reasons are clear. The fires that they ignited at your door had subsided for days and reignited. The treason is clear. Whoever angered you, Zahra, forever has angered Allah. Whoever angered you, Zahra, forever has angered Allah. They better count their lucky stars, the patience of Haidar, a being sent from the hereafter. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar, a being sent from the hereafter. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. From Allah, from Allah, from Allah, gifted from Allah to Taha. He gave him Zahra, a daughter, to him a mother from Allah, from Allah. Your enemies would call you Abtar. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. Your enemies called you Abtar. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. From Allah, from Allah. Belief in the Lord is to believe in the seen and unseen. Do not lean towards those who have hurt a hair on your queen. Belief in the Lord is to believe in the seen and unseen. Do not lean towards those who have hurt a hair on your queen. Do not take them as leaders or count them as believers. Do not try to deceive us, the reasons are clear. Without permission they came near to the holy prophets dear. No, to them I won't adhere, the treason is clear. You send peace to both friends and foe. You're at ease knowing what you know. Without keys they came to her door. Don't you know he said so? Her hand was given to Haidar. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. Her hand was given to Haidar. Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar. From Allah, from Allah, from Allah, from Allah. Ali called Al-Ali for what he saw in the seven heavens. Began to mourn Muhsin and Fatima behind the door. Wa wayla, wa wayla. Ali called Al-Ali for what he saw in the seven heavens. Began to mourn Muhsin and Fatima behind the door. Wa wayla, wa wayla. When I think of your light in the darkness of the night, how they took all your rights in the darkness of the night, how Ali hid your sight in the darkness The door to heaven's door is behind the door. The door to heaven's door is behind the door. Light of the universe burns but it's no more. The door to heaven's door is behind the door. Light of the universe burns but it's no more. Salam ya Zahra, salam ya Zahra, salam. Salam ya Zahra, salam ya Zahra, salam ya Zahra, salam. Salam ya Zahra, salam Zahra. At your door are the paws, your blood they came here to pour. At your door is a war, your home they came here to torch. And they knew Fatima is behind the door. They heard your holy wail, to no avail. They heard your holy will, but to no avail. The door became your veil. God, forgive the nail. They heard your holy will, but to no avail. The door became your veil. God, forgive the nail. Salam ya Zahra. Salam. Salam ya Zahra. 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 Salam. Zainab is watching on with Hussein and your Hassan, as the flames are burning on with Hussein and your Hassan, and you hear from your son Muhsin calling, ah, ah. You give me breath and you take my breath away. You give me breath and you take my breath away. You heal me with your name, and with it you slay. You give me breath and you take my breath away. You heal me with your name, and with it you slay. Salam ya Zahra. 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 Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. إلهي عظم البلاء وبرح الخفاء وانكشف الغطاء وانقطع الرجاء وضاقت الأرض ومنعت السماء وأنت المستعان وإليك المشتكى وعليك المعول في الشدة والرخاء. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أولي الأمر الذين فرضت علينا طاعتهم وعرفتنا بذلك منزلتهم، ففرج عنا بحقهم فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمحه البصر أو هو أقرب. Everyone يا محمد يا علي يا علي يا محمد اكفياني فإنكما كافيان وانصراني فإنكما ناصران يا مولانا يا صاحب الزمان الغوث 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 أدركني 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 الساعة 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 العجل 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 يا أرحم الراحمين بحق محمد وآله الطاهرين.
Thank you, Shaykh, Brother Nuruddin, all of the volunteers. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all for joining us. Inshallah, we look forward to see you in the future nights. Please keep us in your du'ats and keep all the oppressed in your du'ats. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Ali called Al-Ali for what he saw, and the seven heavens began to mourn. Muhsin and Fatima behind the door. Wa wayla, wa ila. When I think of your light in the darkness of the night, how they took all your rights in the darkness of the night, how Ali hid your sight in the darkness. Vai, 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 vai. The door to heaven's door is behind the door. Light of the universe burns, but it's no more. The door to heaven's door is behind the door. Light of the universe burns, but it's no more. Salam ya Zahra, salam ya Zahra, salam ya Zahra, salam ya Zahra, salam ya Zahra. At your door are the paws, your blood they came here to pour. At your door is a war, your home they came here to torch. And they knew Fatima is behind the door.